Welcome to Nash Fit Training Podcast. I'm Dr. Nash Jocic, PhD in philosophy, author, international speaker, fitness expert and nutritionist, and former bodybuilding champion. In this podcast, I will provide you with proven and effective strategies that will help you lose fat, build muscle, and completely change your body composition. The insights and advice I will share are grounded in scientific research and theoretical knowledge, but more importantly, they are drawn from my own experience as well as the experiences of my clients over the past 4 decades. So, let us dive into today's topic. As I have mentioned in previous episodes, the key to effective and lasting fat loss lies in the right combination of exercise and diet. In this episode, we will focus on the most effective type of exercise to help you lose fat and stay lean. To recap, I previously discussed the importance of raising your basal metabolic rate, which is BMR, and by doing so, you will burn more calories even during rest, primarily from fat stores. Since metabolic activities rely on fat as the main energy source, an increased BMR means you will be using more body fat. However, your caloric intake should remain the same or even decrease. Now, the best way to boost your BMR is by building new muscle. Muscle tissue is metabolically demanding, with each kilogram of new muscle requiring an additional 15 calories per day just for maintenance. For example, gaining 10 kilograms of muscle will increase your BMR by 150 calories per day. Over a year, this adds up to an impressive 54,000 extra calories burned, equating to about 15.6 pounds of body fat loss. If you build even more muscle, you will burn even more fat due to increased BMR. Another crucial benefit of high-intensity exercise is its impact on glycogen, the stored carbohydrate in your muscle. During intense workouts, large amounts of glucose are depleted from the muscles, which increases insulin sensitivity in muscle cells. As a result, glucose can enter these cells more efficiently with less insulin, gradually lowering overall insulin levels. This reduction in insulin is a key factor in accelerating fat loss. I'll delve further into the role of insulin in fat loss in the next episode, where I will also explain the best diet for shedding fat. It is no secret that building muscle requires resistance training. Gaining muscle mass is challenging because evolutionary humans weren't designed to have large muscle mass. Having a heavily muscular body would have been detrimental to survival, as the necessary amount of food to sustain such a physique was often scarce. For most of human history, food was limited and periods of starvation were common. To survive, humans evolved the ability to store energy as fat. When food was plentiful, people ate as much as possible, storing excess energy as body fat. This survival mechanism helped humans thrive for over 300,000 years. In those days, being muscular was a liability, but today, with an abundance of food and modern gyms readily available, being muscular is now an advantage. Our bodies are still wired to store fat, but the modern issue is that we rarely utilize this stored fat because food is always accessible and famine no longer occurs. This leads to constant fat accumulation, often resulting in obesity. With food readily available and overeating common, combined with the mistaken belief that moderate physical activity like 30 to 60 minutes of daily walking is enough for fat loss, we see more people struggling with excess fat everywhere we look. The common belief is that you need to do cardio to burn fat, with most people associating cardio with low-intensity, long-duration exercise like, for example, walking, biking, or aerobic classes. However, labeling these exercises as cardio is misleading because there really isn't a thing as cardio exercise. The cardiovascular system, which includes the heart and blood vessel, is not under voluntary control and therefore cannot be directly trained. Instead, the system that can be trained is the muscular system, which responds to our voluntary movements. When we engage our muscles through exercise, the cardiovascular system naturally supports by delivering oxygen to the working muscle. So it is the muscular system that drives the activity, not the cardiovascular system. Therefore, we can't talk about cardiovascular exercise. Calling activities like walking cardio while excluding exercises like squats or bench press is simply inaccurate. Every exercise engages the cardiovascular system. In fact, high-intensity exercise, such as squats or bent-over rowing, generate a much stronger cardiovascular response than so-called cardio activities. This means high-intensity exercises are actually more cardio in nature than low or moderate intensity workouts. High-intensity exercise can significantly strengthen the heart by challenging the cardiovascular system more effectively than lower intensity workouts. For those still skeptical of the cardiovascular benefits of high-intensity training, here are some key facts. High-intensity exercise strengthens the heart by improving cardiac output. High-intensity exercise increasing the amount of blood the heart pumps per beat is called stroke volume. Over time, the heart becomes more efficient, pumping more blood with each contraction, which means it does not have to work as hard during rest and other activities. Also, high-intensity exercise increases VO2 max. VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen the body can utilize during exercise. High-intensity exercise can increase VO2 max more effectively than low or moderate intensity exercise. This improvement indicates better cardiovascular fitness and heart efficiency. Next, high-intensity exercise enhances endothelial function. The endothelium is the inner lining of blood vessels, and its function is crucial for vascular health. High-intensity exercise improves endothelial function, which promotes better blood flow and helps to reduce the risk of heart disease. High-intensity exercise also lowers resting heart rate. As the heart becomes more efficient from high-intensity exercise, your resting heart rate decreases. A lower resting heart rate is associated with better heart health and longevity. High-intensity exercise also reduces blood pressure. Regular high-intensity exercise has been shown to reduce both systolic and diastolic blood pressure, lowering the risk of hypertension, which is a significant factor in heart disease. Another benefit of high-intensity exercise is that it improves cholesterol profile. High-intensity exercise can raise levels of HDL, which is known as good cholesterol, and lower LDL, also known as bad cholesterol, and triglycerides, which helps reduce the risk of arteriosclerosis. High-intensity exercise also increases heart muscle strength. The heart is, of course, a muscle. Unlike other muscles in the body, it strengthens with regular, intense workouts. The stronger the heart, the more efficiently it can pump blood throughout the body. If the goal were to categorize low-intensity activities as cardio, then sleeping as the ultimate low-intensity state would top the list, since the cardiovascular system remains active even during sleep. So why are people so fixated on doing so-called cardio? The answer is straightforward. It is the combination of limited knowledge and a reluctance to engage in high-intensity exercise. Walking around the park is, of course, much easier than doing squats or leg press. But when it comes to fat burning, the real benefits lie with high-intensity workouts. While activities like walking, biking, or jogging do have advantages, such as reducing stress, boosting mood, promoting relaxation, they are not particularly effective for burning fat. For instance, an average person walking for 60 minutes burns around 200 to 300 calories. To burn a single pound of body fat, they would need to take between 11 and 17 one-hour walks. And since the same person already burns 70 to 100 calories per hour due to the basal metabolic rate, the number of hours needed to shed that 1 pound of fat nearly doubles. And that is a poor efficiency and also, for me, very bad economy. I often had people ask me why they aren't losing fat, particularly men struggling with belly fat and women with stubborn fat around their legs and buttocks, even after months and months of jogging 4 or 5 times per week. When I break down the maths, as I've just done for you, they are usually surprised. Some of them even end up switching to weight training. Another thing that is very important to understand is a physiological response to exercise known as post-exercise oxygen consumption, or EPOC. Post-exercise oxygen consumption, often referred to as after-burn effect, is the increased rate of oxygen intake following intense physical activity. This elevated oxygen consumption helps the body recover, restore physiological conditions to their resting state, and return to homeostasis. During exercise, the body uses more oxygen than at rest to meet the increased energy demands, especially during intense or anaerobic activities. After exercise, the body needs additional oxygen in order to: first, restore muscle oxygen stores; 2, replenish energy reserves; 3, remove lactate produced during anaerobic respiration; 4, repair muscle tissue; and 5, regulate body temperature and circulation. The higher the intensity and duration of your exercise, the greater the excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, meaning you continue to burn calories at an elevated rate even after your workout is finished. This effect can last anywhere from a few hours to over 24 hours, depending on the individual and the intensity of the workout. High-intensity exercise not only helps you build muscle, which boosts your BMR and aids in fat loss, but also increases your calorie burn due to the elevated oxygen demand post-exercise. On the other hand, lower intensity exercises like walking or biking don't significantly raise oxygen requirement after they end, so they don't provide the same fat burning benefits. Let me briefly touch on HIIT, or high intensity interval training, also known as high intensity cardio. Exercises like sprints or bike sprints can elevate EPOC and even help you build some muscle. However, if you choose to rely solely on HIIT without incorporating high-intensity resistance training, there are some things to consider. First, high-intensity interval training primarily targets your leg muscles, leaving your upper body muscles, like, for example, back and chest, unengaged. This is a major drawback, as half of your body remains inactive. Second, repeatedly using your legs 3 to 5 times a week through high-intensity interval training can lead to muscle burnout, possibly even muscle loss in your quads. Lastly, sprinting is a high-risk activity. Doing it almost daily can overstress the tendons and ligaments of your knees and calves, with injuries such as knee strain and Achilles tendon damage being common among sprinters. High-intensity interval training is intense and mimics resistance training, with each sprint resembling a set of squats or leg press. However, it is a poor substitute for weight training. It carries significant injury risk and targets the same muscle group repeatedly, which I never recommend doing with high intensity multiple times a week. While some people may train each muscle group 3 times a week, this is rare and usually involves lower intensity. For these reasons, I don't see the necessity of doing high intensity interval training instead or alongside weight training. Weight training provides all the benefits of high intensity interval training with far less risk of injury. Let us recap now. I hope that you now understand the importance of high intensity resistance training for fat loss and the overwhelming cardiovascular benefits of high-intensity resistance training. By developing new muscles, you will increase your basal metabolic rate, therefore burning more body fat during the whole day. High-intensity training will also elevate your post-exercise oxygen consumption, which will further burn your body fat 24 hours or longer after the exercise is completed. You can find a very detailed explanation about high-intensity resistance training in my ebooks, Weight Training and Build Muscle Burn Fat, which are available on my website, nashfittraining.com. On my website, you can also explore a range of services that I offer, including personalized nutrition and training programs, personalized training programs, online consultation, personal training, and additional training and nutrition ebooks. Before we sign off, I would like to thank you for your support and thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please share this episode with others who may be interested in this topic. Also, feel free to let us know what topics you would like to see covered in future episodes. And if you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and never miss an episode. Take care of yourself and see you next week for a new episode.